The story that we tell every time we share communion together is a memory. In it, we recall a moment when our teacher gave us a message. "Remember me," he said. In the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the story is the same, but in this account of John that Stephanie just read, the meal isn't really even mentioned. Instead, John tells another story that you've just heard. He shows us what it means to remember Jesus, to act in a way that demonstrates we understand what he came to teach us. The meal, of course, is important. It's a symbol and a starting place for all of us. I'm reminded of a phrase that I read a long time ago, which is, the first thing the world knew about Christians was that they ate together. This was no small statement at its first occurrence, and I remember learning in seminary how unusual it was that Jesus insisted that everyone was welcome to eat with him, including women and foreigners and tax collectors and people who were ill or ostracized. He broke all sorts of social conventions by inviting everyone to sit and share food together. And that's one of the things that made him different. If the first thing that the world knew about Christians was that they ate together, the next thing they needed to know, the thing that Jesus showed them after the meal in John's account, was how to treat each other. And in this telling, the meal was a preparation for that. It was a way to bring everyone together, to listen and to learn. "Remember me," he said. "Then go out from here and follow me. Act in the world according to this memory. Tell this story and care for one another in this way that I'm showing you. Share what you have, always. Be humble and serve one another." When we share a meal, we honor and fulfill a basic need of all creatures that must eat to survive. We take food into our bodies and acknowledge the interdependence we have with the earth and all its creatures. We consume grains and vegetables and meat and fish and dairy, and we remember that the earth provides what we need to sustain our living. Sitting at the table with them, Jesus and the disciples were already connected to the greater story of our lives, the story that God provides. Remember that, and our response is a simple one: gratitude. Every time we eat, an opportunity for gratitude. Jesus' message connects us in the simplest and most powerful of ways to one another, to care for each other through our most basic need, food. Remember me every time you eat. In the last month, I've had 5 or 6 opportunities as part of this church to gather for meals with several of you. Different kinds of meals, but all of them a starting place, each recalling this memory of Jesus at the table with the disciples, each an opportunity to show care and love. Shared meals remind me of why we are together, to whom we minister, how we care for one another, and where we're headed in our lives together. Today, I wanted to offer some simple reflections on shared meals, using as a framework some words about food and eating that came from, of all places, a pizza box top from, this is from Flatbread Pizza in Amesbury. Maybe you've been there. This pizza place, we actually went there a few years ago as a congregation a couple of times to share a meal because they have a lower level that is really conducive to community gatherings. It was started by 2 people, 2 men, Jay Gould and John Meehan, and they had help from a guy named George Schenk, who had already started his own pizza business, and it's George's words that are on this box top. And they are called the 5 Faces of Food, and I'm going to share them with you as we reflect on some meals. The 5 faces of food are hunger, flavor, nourish, nurture, and heal. Last night, the Ogden and the McIlvain families prepared and served the meal at LifeBridge Shelter in Salem, as many of you I know have also done at one time or another. Anyone is welcome there. It doesn't matter if you're a person who has struggled chronically with homelessness or someone who's just passing through. You can come and join in the line and be fed. Anyone is offered a hot meal made with love and care. If you are hungry, come and eat. Hunger, I am the first face of food. My body is the great mass and bounty of leaf and flesh. I am hunted and gathered. I am culled and cultivated and cleaned and cured and cooked to fill the empty stomachs of the people so that they may rest with peace. This is the first function of food. I am the porridge served in Chad and Somalia and Ethiopia. I am the food of prisoners and refugees and the desperate poor in Cairo and Sao Paulo and East St. Louis and 1,000 other places. I am the line between life and death. For those of you who do not stand near this line, be glad. At LifeBridge, that line between life and death, the face of hunger, is more visible than in other places. Remember me there, Jesus says. Some of us have also been enjoying shared meals together in dinner circles over the last few weeks. We laugh and listen together while we talk about the things that matter most in our lives, our families, our work, this church, and the people that we love. The different situations and people that we talk about at those meals as various as the smells and tastes of the potluck that we're sharing. Flavor. I am the second face of food. I am sweet and tart, and the salt and the bitter and the fat. I am the miracle of taste and texture. I am the warning and the celebration. I am the guide in the wilderness of plants and animals and minerals. I speak to the lips and teeth and tongue. Listen to your mouth and to the depths of your gut for my true voice, and I will guide you toward the foods of joy and health. Dinner circles celebrate the foods we love and the ones we share. They honor our stories and our foods, the flavors of our lives together. Remember me there, Jesus says. Last Saturday morning, I met with Katie, Jack, Gwyneth, and Greta, and Mary Alice, who helped us out, for the Sacraments workshop to spend some time learning about communion and baptism. We learned some interesting facts about the Bible. We created some small plates and cups out of clay. We opened the baptismal font and looked inside of it. We shared communion by breaking a single croissant, rich, flaky bread dipped in sweet grape juice, and stood at this table together until we ate the whole thing. Nourish. I am the third and central face of food. I am the face of nutrition. From my body come the building blocks that give form and strength. I am the fuel that warms the heart and the power to run and dance and dream. I am the purpose of flavor and the why of hunger pain. Remember me in the food you eat. I love you. Teaching our children about the symbols of our faith is nourishment for them to carry on their journey. Remember me there, Jesus says. Some of you know that our Food for the Soul dinner ministry keeps growing. Our families with young children have particularly enjoyed these opportunities to sit around a giant dinner table and help our children think about what we value the most. We read stories and talk together about kindness, honesty, creativity, balance, and hospitality, to name just a few of our recent themes. The meal that we share together when we gather is nothing fancy. In fact, in the category if it is not broken, don't fix it, we have the same thing every time: lasagna, green salad with fresh veggies, and giant loaves of bread drizzled in butter. We rarely have any food left over, though there's always room for one more family. In the warm candlelight of our chapel, as if sitting around a dinner table at home, we tell stories and listen and nurture the bodies and souls of the littlest ones among us. Nurture, I am the fourth face of food. I am known by the acts of the hands and the heart working together. Food that nurtures is grown with care and respect. It is carried without burden and stirred to the songs of kindness. Food that nurtures is shaped by the ways of love. From food made and shared like this flows great health and happiness. Familiar food and rituals sustain us on our way. This ministry we have is aptly named, for we are offering food for the soul. Remember me there, Jesus says. Just a few minutes ago, when Martin broke the bread, he reminded us, as he always does, that the bread we share is a symbol. We are like the bread, both broken and made whole. In our lives, we are constantly being remade. We are brought low, at times broken, but through love, forgiveness, hope, and community, we are brought back to wholeness. We accept and celebrate the symbol of the bread, one loaf to be broken and shared. Heal, food to fill you, food of joy, food for health and for comfort. These are the foods of my four sisters. I am the fifth face of food. I am the face of healing. Just as illness and injury take many forms, there are many ways to heal, and food can heal. When we share communion together, when we come to this table, we are both broken and healed. Remember me there, Jesus says. Our pizza box top poetry today reminds me to keep my eyes and ears open for the ways and the words that minister, for the messages, some of them subtle, some of them obvious, that let us know that we're in this together. Every meal we share, an opportunity. Tonight at the Rim Potluck, look for those 5 faces of food: hunger, flavor, nourish, nurture, and heal. Remember me there, Jesus says. Remember me as you feed the hungry. Remember me as you taste the flavors. Remember me as you take in the nourishment, as you are cared for and nurtured, children of God. And remember me when you are healed by the hands that reach out to welcome you there tonight. This memory of Jesus with the disciples that we share means we are constantly brought back to the beginning, a meal around a table where everyone is welcome without exception, all loved and all part of our story of faith. After that meal, John told us the story of Jesus washing the disciples' feet so that there would be no doubt about how we should treat one another. It starts with the meal. Our faith is rooted in sharing food. Our faith grows by humbly serving one another. I said that John doesn't even mention the meal, but that he showed us what the meal means. For thousands of years, people have knelt and washed one another's feet, embracing Jesus' message with a sense of purpose that made Christian love one of the most powerful forces on the planet. The first thing the world knew about Christians was that they ate together. We still eat together. Thanks be to God. Amen.